Phillis the Great Turtle here, and welcome to a dream vlog. Alright, I did not have a lot of dreams. Well, I did, but I was too lazy to get out of bed or write them down, so I lost a bunch of them. I was like, oh, I'm too tired, not going to get up. There's a whole bunch of that went on. However, one day, Thursday of this week, the week that this video will come up, which, by the way, this video is probably going to be later than noon when it comes out. Sorry about that. I'll do what I can. I'm going to do what I can to get it out on time, but it's probably not, which is why there's the other video. Sorry. But in one day I had a bunch of dreams. I had several dreams about Life is Strange. Several dreams. I had 3 of them. Some people, when I say several, they think 7. It's just a arbitrary value to me. So 3. I had 3 dreams about Life is Strange, and of course I lost 2 of them, and then one. All I remember is the first one was like the most normal, where it was like I played the game, and then somehow got my father to play the game, and he hates video games. And I got him to play it, and then he got a completely different ending than me. Like, which this video will probably come out before the ending. I don't know. I've beaten the game at this point, just so you know. But he got a different ending than me, and it was like there was like the giant redwood trees everywhere, and something was happening, and basically something that I don't know. All I remember is like all the characters that were there, including Max and Chloe, like the world just kind of like opened up and they fell into a black abyss and disappeared, and that was the end of the game for them. Which, by the way, is not the end of the game in the actual game. And in the dream, I was just like, oh wait, how did you get that? That's not in the. Oh wait, there's multiple different endings to the game, which I don't think there is. Not like that, anyways. And then the other ones were more extreme, if you will, in the aspect that I was in the dream. I was Max Clawfield. I was either her third-person camera or I was her. And going through that. And that's all I remember, is I had 3 of them. Which, you know, I mean, time travel dreams would be, rather intense in and of themselves. And then I had one that I was a knight. Specifically, I was a prince. I was the son of a king of some race of knights, if you will. I don't want to say race of knights, but, you know, some faction that had a lot of knights. And I had a brother, and he got... And this is the parts that I'm missing of, but he got killed somehow, and I think it was by the enemy leader, who's an excellent swordsman. He got killed, and, you know, I was there with him when he died, and then I took his sword, and so I carry both of our swords. I have his sword and my own. And then somehow it got to the point where our entire army, along with the king, my father, was on the beach. And there's the enemy leader, and him and the king are talking, and I'm standing just a little ways back, listening to this whole thing. And this enemy leader, he's standing on we're on the beach front. You know, it's just beach, water, lake, and then a little ways down the beach, there's this. It's almost like a spaceship. All right, really, it's almost like a crashed spaceship on the world. That's basically what it is, except there's a big hole in the side of it, and his entire army is just kind of like hanging out inside there, and inside of there, it's like a mess hall where they're all eating, enjoying themselves. And our king is, like, challenging this enemy leader to a duel. And this enemy leader has no respect for our people. Just absolutely despises them. And he says something about, like, oh, hey, you know, oh, hey. He doesn't say that. He says something like, your people pride themselves on being part of these 3 elements of the water and the sand and something else. Well, how about you all go back to your islands? And the king, like, reiterates his duel. And the enemy leader is just like, how are you going to duel without your hand? And, like, lightning fast speeds, he just, like, comes forward, draws his sword, swings it, and cuts the king's hand off. My, you know, father in the dream cuts his hand off with enough force that he sends the king flying through the air. So it's intense. And then I, like, reach out, grab a hold of his hand, he grabs a hold of mine, and I stop his momentum and pull him down. And he's just like, he's really calm about the fact that he got his hand lopped off and he went flying. He's just a little peeved, you know. It's like, and he's holding it, you know. And then I don't know if I was like watching it, or if I had some sort of time travel powers, or what. But basically, at this point, I started going, wait, no, that needs to be fixed. I can't let that happen. I need to react. And somehow we like rewind to right before he does it. He says his line again, goes to cut off the king's hand, and I start running forward. He does it to the king. This time I don't grab him. This time I like duck underneath him, and then come up to this enemy leader, and I lop off his hand. You know, a hand for a hand. Haha. And then both of them, the king and the enemy leader, go to do this duel, which is an arm wrestle. Which now they're arm wrestling with their bad hands, not their sword hands. So they go do an arm wrestle in this enemy leader's spaceship in the mess hall. And the enemy leader has like one bodyguard standing there, and I get to kind of be a bodyguard, if you will. It's kind of just to make sure nobody interferes with the thing. Except I don't stay there very long, and I like wander off, and I go to start. It's because one of the enemy people was like waving me over, and I walk over to him, and this guy who waved me over is a guy who can see into the future, and he like points out the power cells to the ship, and he's like, here, pull this one out. Oh, okay. So I pull it out, and then I see that there are other people who are part of the enemy's crew, but they're doing some sort of mutiny or whatever. They are going through and like pulling out other power cells as discreetly as possible. And I talk to this enemy guy who can see into the future, and I talked to him about his visions. Apparently I've talked to him before, because I was like, I don't think I'm ready for your vision. I don't think I can lead, or something like that. It's like, I don't think that I can do it. And he says something along the lines of, my visions are just a possible outcome of the future, not set in stone. And then one of those people, they get the last power cell out, it goes dark. The entire like mess hall full of bad guys starts going up in arms, like, oh, what's this? Treachery, right? And so I grab my sword off the ground and I start running through the crowd, and I'm like ducking and diving, avoiding running into people, and I happen to go by and I see the enemy leader. I don't know where my king is, and apparently I didn't care in the dream. I see the enemy leader and I just whip out my sword as I run by him and slit his throat, and then keep running, and then I like, somebody tries to block me and I like do a little spin around him, and then I'm going to like cut him like in half, like along their back, you know, and for some reason I changed my mind, and it ends up being a light cut. So I mean, and that was where that dream ended, and it was like, okay, all right, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I could start to write a story off of that, basically. The next dream I had was really intense. The beginning part of it didn't make a lot of sense, but as the dream went on, it started to add like layers to it of mystery. There was a man on a plane, you know, big jumbo jet planes, passenger planes, lots of people, right? He's standing in the middle of the aisleway. He had black hair, and I remember he did like the dramatic look over his shoulder that you see in movies sometimes, where you're just like, whatever. He did that, and I remember in the dream thinking like, oh, what's that? You're trying to be dramatic or something? And then he looked forward, and then all of a sudden, all the passengers in the plane around him, their eyes like roll back into their head, so all you can see is the whites. You know, their noses start to bleed, and they pass out. They just all slump over, their noses are bleeding, their eyes have rolled back in their head. And this man just walks forward calmly through all of this. And he gets up to the cockpit where the pilots are. He like opens the door, and one of the pilots is trying to like talk to him, like, oh, you can't be in here, or something like that. And then somehow, just out of nowhere, a third guy appears. The two pilots were back in their seats. There's a third bigger dude standing there, and he's holding a gun pointing at the man who had black hair, who is now an old man, just gray hair, beard, you know, and he's pointing the gun at this old man. So the guy with black hair is changed into an old man, and there's this random third person who appeared out of nowhere holding a gun at him. And I hear one of the pilots say something like, "This is a national security issue," and like he said some other things that I don't remember the exact words of, but basically the whole world knows that this old man is on the plane, and they want the plane to land because they need to apprehend the old man and figure out who he is, what he is, something he has to do with something that is happening worldwide. And this guy with the gun is standing there, and the old man's eyes start to roll back into his head. So the guy with the gun just opens fire. And I don't know if the old man like rapidly heals like Wolverine, if the bullet passes through him like he's a ghost, or the bullet just like goes into him and then there's no damage there at all. I don't know. All I know is the bullet like hit the old man and then just kind of disappeared, and the old man had no marks on him at all. He was perfectly fine. And then in the dream it skips a bit, because what happens is there's this old abandoned apartment building, and there are people with like the kind of tents you'd see when somebody's setting up a crime scene investigation or a rescue. Those tiny little tents with the tarps on them and the metal poles, and they're everywhere, and there are people running around everywhere doing stuff. And I, for some reason, know that the old man is in that apartment building. I come up with a group of people, and we all gather around, and this guy, just a random guy, starts giving us a briefing of what's going on. And he's telling us about the old man. It's like, he goes on to say something along the lines of, well, we did our research into this guy, and he doesn't exist. He's married, apparently, but unless him and his wife are 4 years old, they don't exist. But anyways, this guy who's giving our briefing, he said a lot of things that I forgot, but there was the whole thing about, well, if they exist, they're 4 years old. The old man claims that his wife was a national hero. There's no evidence of that, but he tells the story of what his wife did. It had to do something like, maybe like a burning building. She lifted something up or saved a lot of people from it. Not sure. And that they're gathering all these people with all sorts of gifts and specialists to try to figure out stuff about this man. Like, who is he? Why couldn't he die? All of these things. At that point, we're dismissed, to try to find out stuff about this guy. And I go into the apartment building, up to the floor where the old man's on, and there's people running around inside the apartment building. Basically, he's the only one who's actually living in the apartment building. They've supplied him with, a computer and foods and fridge. They like, this one room has been set up like somebody actually lives in it, and it's been set up just recently for him. And I start to walk up to him to talk to him, and he turns to me and goes, "What's your gift?" And I say, "Empathy." And he goes, "That won't help you." And I start to say something like, "It's a gift from God," but I stop myself and go, "It's a gift. Whether you believe in a deity or not, it's the only gift I've got." And then he like looks at me for a moment, then he pulls up an internet browser and shows me a video on YouTube. And before the video actually gets played, I can feel it have an effect on me. Like, all of a sudden, my senses feel distorted. And then he plays the video, and I see it's him and his wife talking. And all of a sudden, I look to my right away from the screen, and there's his wife. His wife is standing there. And then he comes up, and he talks to her. And he's still sitting here. It's the video. For some reason, that video has now become 3D, and I am watching it happen in the room. And they're talking about something, and I don't even remember what they're talking about. It got lost basically immediately. But they're talking about something, and then he pauses the video, and I like snap out of it. And then I go outside because I'm thinking, there's no way that was the video. What just happened? I go outside and I find a supervisor, and I'm like, "Is there a video that he's been showing everybody?" And she's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Can you show it to me?" And she pulls it up, and I see the actual YouTube video. It's one of those like motivational speeches, but they took clips from every movie. They just took a clip from this movie, put it here, this movie, put it here, and strung them together to make a motivational speech. That's what it is. But when I was in his presence, when he showed it to me, my empathy allowed me to actually see and feel what he felt. I was seeing things from his perspective, from his memories. And I say something to her, it's like, okay, I got a lot of work to do, and I start like walking into the building because I'm gonna figure all these things out, and that's where my dream ends. They always end when they're getting good, right? But that was it, and it was like that was all in one day because I refused to get up and I kept like napping. I had like all of these dreams, and they were all relatively intense in their own right. Let me know what you think of those, and feel free to share dreams in the comments below. That's something I've been trying to say, but I haven't been. I mean, feel free to share dreams. If you got any interesting ones you'd like to share, go ahead and put them in there. It's cool. Anyways, that's all I have. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have a great day. Maybe I'll see you in the next video. Toodaloo!